We will call to order this regular meeting of the Harrison County Board of Education for Tuesday, March 2nd. At this time, I would like us all to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Mr. Hogan.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving on to our special recognitions and presentations. Tonight, we're presenting the Superintendent's Perseverance Award, and this is a special award that we started a few years ago. And I believe, Mr. Kirby, you have someone here for us.
I do. I have Shay Lund here with us.
Welcome, Shay.
Mr. Kirby, do you want to go ahead and come up and, I'll go get my glasses.
How are you? Good, how are you? I'm glad to have you here. And then you're going to get a nice certificate for the Perseverance Award. Is there anything you'd like to say, Mr. Kirby, about Shay?
Well,
You're the one that worked with this young man. And we also have, we should say, we have Ashley Satterfield here. And who else do you have with you? Ashley? And
Jacob Taylor.
oh, Jacob's back there. We've got the mask on again. So,
Well,
they could come up too.
come on.
Come on, Jacob and Ashley.
I think the thing about Shay that a lot of people need to understand is that he's always kind of been there. We had a hard time finding him sometimes, and hard time, kind of didn't want to go to school, and he and I had some long heart-to-heart talks. Gave him a lot of opportunities. He finally had to have that, come to Jesus speech. And it worked really well.
Which
He
Mr.
actually-
Kirby is known for.
And it worked really well, and make a long story short, he graduated. I'm proud of him. I'm really proud of him.
I'm gonna read this to you. There's a nice certificate in here. Mom, you look really familiar. I'm not sure where I.
You were a principal at Lost Creek when my girls were there, and he was just a tiny little guy.
Wow.
I don't think you were still there when he started there.
That's why the name seems so familiar. Were you probably pre-K maybe? Or
Maybe.
kindergarten?
Yeah,
See, it just comes around.
Full
doesn't
circle.
it? I just recognized you. So I'm sure you've changed a little bit since you were 4. So I'm glad to see you again after all those years. So how exciting. Well, we have a certificate for you, and you should be very proud of yourself. Really, this is a big accomplishment. This is the Superintendent's Perseverance Award, presented to Shay Lund for his resolution to succeed. It's dated March 2nd, 2021. And it's presented, we have all the board members on here. We have Gary Hamrick, he's our president. He's one on the phone. He's on the phone, you can't see. We have Frank Devano Jr., he's our vice president right there. He's running the meeting tonight. Michael Daugherty's also on the phone with us. And we have Doug Hogue, esteemed Doug Hogue over there. And then Kristen Messenger right here. And then, of course, my name's on there as the superintendent. No matter what happens, no matter how far you seem to be away from where you want to be, never stop believing that you will somehow make it. And you've done that. Have an unrelenting belief that things will work out, that the long road has a purpose, that the things that you desire may not happen today, but they will happen. Continue to persist and persevere. So this certificate is for Shay Lund, the Superintendent's Perseverance Award. Thank you.
We're going to come over to your side, Mom.
You haven't changed a good number. Let me take my glasses off. Thank you. And congratulations. Thank you, Alan. Thanks, Dick.
Absolutely.
I kept telling Jim, that name sounds familiar.
Okay, so that brings us down to our delegations. Are there any delegations? No delegations this evening. Brings us down to our superintendent's update. Superintendent Stellar.
Okay, we have several things on superintendent's update. We wanted to talk with curriculum. Of course, we've been working, we're going to do some different things with pre-K this year and how we're registering for pre-K, and the department's been working hard to get that all ready and changed. So Dr. Haig would like to update us on how that's working out.
Yeah, we won't have a roundup this year. So parents have been able to pick up their pre-K packet starting March 1 at the home school that they would like to attend. So we will guarantee everybody a spot in pre-K if they want it in Harrison County. But in working with our principals and collaborating with them, we thought that their first experience at Harrison County Schools really should be at the home school that they hope to attend. So they'll return those packets on March 12th from 9:30 to 1:30 at the home school that they want to attend. As long as space is available, they're giving priority to those who live in that school's attendance area and those who have siblings at that school. And our off-sites that we have, they will be collecting packets on March 12th as well. The good news is by June 1, parents will not have to wait all summer to find out where they're at.
Okay.
So by June 1, we've made the commitment and working with our principals to get those letters out to parents so that they'll know where they're accepted at. So it's exciting. They don't have to choose 3 choices anymore. That was very popular among our principals and the parents that we've surveyed in this process. So they'll make their choice, deliver it to their home school, and their first experience will not be at a roundup, but be at their home school. So,
And a close look to make sure siblings are,
yes.
taken care of.
I have a question though. What happens if you fill the slots and then a new family or something moves into that area and their child is supposed to be in that school? How do we resolve that? Is that the last in, first out, or?
We're hoping that March 12th date, those parents will definitely get to their home schools that they'll want, and we'll fill those spots at those schools. So we'll deal with those on an individual basis and work. And there's some people that want their child to attend pre-K, not necessarily where they reside, but due to work obligations. And so that March 12th date is important for them to get that packet where they want to attend.
Okay, what is the total number the site can hold?
It varies.
It varies.
Yeah, you may have some schools that have 2 pre-K classrooms, you may have some that have 4, and so it's limited by those classrooms.
But how many students per classroom?
We don't go over 20.
Don't go over 20.
Yeah.
That's why my only thought was, could you slot the first 18 or 19 and save a slot in case somebody moves into that area, or 2 or whatever? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think if they're registering in their attendance area, there could be slots left anyway. Because generally you would fill that site and then move to the next site. That could not happen necessarily this time. You're going to fill it with in-area kids.
Only within area.
Yeah, to begin with. And then after we see what the registrations are, we may have to place kids in other areas. But the point is that they're going to register in that home school. We kind of looked at every feeder area, and we talked with the administrators and say, look, if you have this many kids show up on the first day, are we going to be able to place them? So we've already had that conversation, and we're in good shape in most of the attendance areas. Like Johnson and Simpson can possibly work together because they're in the same, yeah. So we're good there with the number of preschools that we have. Then we come back to the Nutter Fort feeder area, and we said the same thing. Issues will be maybe like Norwood because they have not as many slots. But if you look at that specific feeder area, then most likely they're going to get their in-area kids in.
Right.
And then there's an overflow set for there. So we really did look at each feeder area and ask, because the principals know, do you think that you're going to be able to fill your slots, and will you have enough slots? And it really, you've got Big Elm and Lumberport. I think it's going to work well.
Okay.
And we're still collaborating with Head Start.
Yes.
And our offsite.
They were still happy.
They were very happy with this process. So
Uh-huh.
it's a change, and so there was a little bit of adjustment to that, but the first experience will be exciting in a homeschool.
Right.
Sort of a roundup.
Sometimes change is good.
Sometimes it's just
Very family friendly and student
Yes.
oriented is what that is, yeah.
perfect.
Get a t-shirt, put it on a t-shirt.
For sure. We also have a technology update that Mr. Poole's been working on. We had requested for the techs to visit the schools and get an idea of what we needed technology-wise, and had some good comments from staff members that they had been in to visit with them, and I think they did a survey with each of the teachers, and he has the results of that.
And I did hear a lot of compliments about.
I think they enjoyed having the
techs
techs out there, just checking on them
and making sure.
Making sure
I
they
agree
need
with you. I
some.
had heard a lot of comments.
Yeah,
Another quality job.
I think this is probably here.
Yeah, and this is something we'd like to continue, in the future, so, it may be once a year, or it could be a couple times a year, but, just to get out and just kind of survey the needs. So, what we did, we were able to visit 735 classrooms. I don't know that we got to everybody, there were some subs out there and things, but we hit as many as we could, which is quite a few. I debriefed with each technician after we were complete, and we got a lot of good comments, positive feedback, people thanking us, and just a lot of appreciation for what we do and just the quality work that we do. So that's always good to hear. And overall, the majority didn't have a lot of tech concerns. There was some little things, but most people just didn't have a lot of concerns at all, and we're happy that we were there, like you said. And we looked at the condition and existence of document cameras, and this is all on page 1. Laptops, iPads, the crayon pencil things that people use with their tablets, projectors, interactive boards, printers, adapters, that's a big one. All these new laptops and things take adapters, and speakers was a popular one. And when you look at page 2, you'll want to take that a little bit in stride, because just because it's not there, or maybe it's let me see. So if it's a document camera that says 16 or something like that, doesn't necessarily mean that everyone needed one. So there's a lot of cases where you might have something, you may not have a printer because the school has zones throughout the building to print to, so you may not have one in the classroom. So basically, this was just, do we see this or not? And then we took some feedback, we took some wish lists, and we've got a pretty good idea, a lot of similarities. A lot of things people tend to want are pretty much similar across the board. It's things like document cameras, speakers was a popular one, adapters, like I say, those little pencil things for the tablets. Some printers here and there. Ceiling mounts seem to come up a little bit, and projectors. And as we were talking in our meeting this morning, a lot of these things are things that we don't necessarily provide from the county. Oftentimes, these are things that the school uses their tech levy funds for, and sometimes they're even federally provided, and CTE programs provide some things like that as well. So we're talking about a lot of different funding sources and possibilities. The other thing that came up was charging centers. I think the schools, especially we have those at the elementary school, and the middle schools and the high schools would like to have some of those available. The kids come without charge devices, and sometimes they could just even charge their own phone if they want to, with those. So that would be nice to have. The other thing that's, some of these things are actually in the works. So things like charging cables, we actually already have those on order. We had to get a lot of those out, so we're trying to replenish those. And so those are actually on order. So the breakout boxes that are required with a lot of the new laptops, those actually came in yesterday, so we needed about 20 of those. So those will go out tomorrow. So a lot of these things are kind of already addressed, or we need to talk about how we'll address them. But again, the next step really is to take this back to the principals at our meeting next week and to kind of go through it with them. They can go back and see really what, who needs what specifically, because again, not everybody needs certain things. So it won't come out on this document, but we should be able to get down to that number. Page 3 is the laptop list, and you'll find just about our entire fleet for teachers isn't any older than 2016, which we talked about before. And then next year, we will refresh all those 2016 computers. That's related arts. So we have a schedule in place, and every year we address those. So on that list, you'll also notice that you're going to see people that don't work here anymore because they've retired. That was who was in that position when that device was issued. So page 4 is the levy allocations to each school, and quite a bit of money just kind of out there available for these types of things possibly, and we'll have that conversation with our principals. But we started out the school year, and you can look at every school and their allocation and the carryover on that document. We started out the school year with $905,000 allotted to the school tech levy at the school level for their discretion. And to this point on page 5, you'll see that there's an amount that hasn't been encumbered of $716,000. So there's available money. We just need to talk about I think we need to do a better job at saying, hey, these are things that you can spend your money on. Now, a lot of schools like to say they'll save up their money for other purchases, but obviously, if you have things out there that are needed in the classroom, probably ought to look at maybe addressing that first as we move forward. On page 5, actually 6, I just wanted to give you an idea of what a screenshot of our work order system and all the different things that you can do with that. We actually did ask our teachers, how many knew how to use it. I think we had about 40 or 45 that didn't know how to use it. And then we instructed them, give them a little instruction on how to use it. But the big one is item request. So they can go into the system and actually there's a drop down that has almost the exact devices that you'll see there. They can request different things. And Mrs. Stutler and I were talking this morning that we might be able to actually take those requests and then figure out who should be funding this, and if it's the school, we just send it back to the principal and their tech contact to look for the funding. And I like to get creative with funding, and if it's something big, I always work with the schools to try to blend some funds to try to find how can we make this easier. So we do that all the time. So basically, just getting down to the fine details is where we're at. Then page 7 was just kind of a list of the different specific technology-related PD that we've done since last March. So, as I said in previous meetings, we took that time in March and April last year we did it almost daily and trying to get people caught up on the different platforms and stuff, especially at the elementary level who've never really used it, kind of got thrown into this. So practically every day you can see the list of all the different activities and things that were going on throughout the county PD-wise. So, and that doesn't even take into consideration the other curriculum that we're blending technology within their presentations as well. So, but overall, it was a good outcome, and I think people were very pleased.
So, a couple questions. One, if it's 2016, then you're looking to change them out.
Yeah, we'll change those out. They'll be on the cycle next year.
Okay, so it's.
We have a 5-year cycle, basically.
It's almost like a football helmet.
Yeah.
It has some
Yep.
cycles to it.
It would be great to do them more often, but it's a big expense. So.
And the second thing is, then you pretty much monitor not only from the school level, but also from, county office wise and everything, as to what people are wanting, or they have to kind of go through you before they order this stuff?
I asked, well, it depends on what it is. I mean, if we're getting laptops for teachers, I just send a list of who we're refreshing that year to the principal and say, what do you want, basically, and they just send me an email back, and then we produce a list and get it for them, basically. So we do that every year, and so I just work through the principals on that. What were you specifically?
Well, just as long as if you're the one monitoring, so that, in other words, if you tell people you got so much money, then everybody wants something new. So, in other words, if it's not a real necessity, or if they have, that, you monitor whether it's a necessity that they have it or not have it, and all.
I mean, well, I don't really tell people, if they feel it's valuable for their classroom, I'm not gonna tell them otherwise. I mean,
But I mean, you're gonna make a decision that help them,
Oh, yeah.
That's a
Yeah, if they
necessity.
want to, if they ask me, what's the best for this, whatever, I'll give them an opinion, or the best, maybe they sent me something and we can get something that, that's better, or maybe it's cheaper, that serves the same purpose, we do that, yeah. And then, we have to, there's certain things that may not work well in a classroom environment, and we'll give an opinion on that as well. And then sometimes we'll take things, and if somebody wants to try something out, we'll go ahead and order it to make sure everything works correctly before we ever, buy it in mass. We do that quite a bit, so, because we don't want to buy something that, and then we bought a bunch of them and then find out it didn't work. So that we do that quite a bit.
Well, my thing is, you're the per se expert in the technology field. A lot of times people think that they're an expert in it, and maybe they don't know quite as much about it as they do. I think, if it comes through you, then it's probably a pretty good idea to go forward with it.
Yeah, all the purchases, and Christina's actually here tonight. I mean, she'll ask me, if she gets something that a school is requesting, that's going directly to her, she'll ask me, hey, is this okay? And we'll check it out. So we got a lot of experts on our team, so we'll take it in the right direction.
I have some questions.
Okay.
Because I always get really upset when I see like this paper. Essentially, I just looked at all the schools, and in technology, there's almost all of them have a $50,000 carryover in their budget. Very close to them, probably averages out. Now, my understanding is when, I'll take South Harrison, it just happens to be open, or I'll take WI Middle School. Technology, it has $56,527. And this is from the levy, and that is what it has to be spent on. So you aren't making a nest egg for something 3 years down the road, correct?
Sometimes they hold back money, if they're looking to, make a larger purchase, they'll hold back money for a few years.
What would be a larger purchase than $50-some thousand? I'm just curious. I'm like trying to figure out why we as a board, and we get all these complaints, my kid doesn't even have a charging cord, but yet there's $56,000 sitting in a budget. And it's just not this school, and I'm not singling out that school at all. I mean, it's every one you gave me that's on this sheet. So my question is why does this just not make sense to me? I mean, we have parents saying they don't have charging cords, and they're coming to board members, and we come to a board meeting, we talk to you, but then I see schools sitting with, 50,000 plus in technology. Where are we missing the link that it's their responsibility and why this levy money is set aside? Because any purchase of technology over $50-some thousand would come from the board more than likely, and would be a huge infrastructure within the school, correct? Like a new server or something.
Yeah, but those are the things that we take care of.
Yeah. So why are these schools sitting with this money? And we have teachers that are calling and sending us emails that they have their computers don't work, and, their cameras don't work. I mean, I'm just wondering, what's the answer to this? I mean, because this isn't the first time we brought this up as a board, like all this money sitting there in athletic funds. Remember, we brought it up. You know, when people need football helmets, we got the athletic department has 100 and some thousand sitting in there. I mean, I'm just asking, why is this money sitting there and we're getting phone calls and these teachers do not have, who is in charge of that?
Yeah, well, we don't, again, it's more discretionary for the school. We don't, you know, suggest that they, from the county, suggest that they spend it any way particularly. It's really up to their discretion. We were talking this morning that, you know, this is a conversation we really need to have with the principals. And maybe we need to work with them to give them ideas, again, kind of like from this needs assessment, give them ways to spend that money. Now, obviously, you're not going to spend $50,000 on Bluetooth speakers, but there are, you know, needs in the classroom that money could be used for.
Yeah, that was my question. Who oversees, is it the principal's responsibility to oversee the levy funds that technology provides? So at that point, do they also oversee the purchases?
The purchases themselves, well, the purchases would run through their office, yes.
So then, do we have a record of things that are being purchased at the school level?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
At the same time, could you, in other words, I don't know how much is allotted for next year in technology for each school, but can you maybe put a hold on some of that money and hold that in your office? And then as the school spends down, then you allot them some more money, you know, back to, you know, for things maybe they need. Rather than say, you got 50,000, you get another 25,000, that's gonna make you 75,000 or something.
But we had this conversation this morning about the funds and what was left, and I think sometimes it's a communication thing. I don't know that the schools know necessarily what they need to buy. Like a document camera or speakers, they may feel like, well, that's the county should be buying that. I just think we need to clear up what they can purchase and what they can't.
Yeah.
And what they're, and if a school is saving for a large project, then maybe we need to know why you've got this large carryover. But we do have large amounts in the levy funds for
Right.
technology, but I have a feel, and sometimes they save it because we had this conversation too this morning. A lot of times there's like software or things that schools use that the county will come back in and pay for, and they'll save the money thinking they may need to buy that, because you don't always know.
Mhm.
So we need to be clear on what the county's paying for, so the schools can budget better on what they can spend it on. But a lot of times they'll save it thinking that they need to buy something. So we've not always been real clear on, you know, what's the county paying for, what's the schools paying for. So it's a communication thing, I believe.
I can speak from the principal perspective.
Hold on a second. Mr.
Okay,
Henry?
yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say, I'm listening to the points, and they're good points. Technology should flow through our technology department, but, you know, because they can get a bigger bang for their buck if they're ordering in bulk or whatever. But if the school needs to do that, what we need to do is maybe our technology department orders it and then bills their account. You know, flow it through us, but then bill the individual school, or else they're going to set on that money.
Yes, sir.
We do that a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's usually on the big purchases, you know, that they might be doing. It's not on the small stuff, but I mean, of course, Christina's here tonight. She's the purchasing director, so she'd have a better idea of how we could manage something like that, but we can definitely do it.
Well, I
Well, apparently
understand
we
what
need
you're
to
saying
build a
about
little bit more.
allocations.
Yeah, there's a lot of money here. And I think that, you know, this reminds me, we bought 2 3D cameras, I believe, or 3D printers, I believe, for a couple schools last year, $5,000 or $10,000, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, why couldn't that have been purchased out of these levy funds at the school level? You know, I'm not opposed to trying to do what we can to help, but when we see this, it says that we've got an excess of money that needs to be spent, or we need to do something to return it to the taxpayers.
Yeah, I mean, that's my point on it too. I mean, it would be a whole different story if we weren't coming to a board meeting and pointing fingers at you, Todd, and we as board members are getting pointed fingers at, like you aren't getting our teachers what they need. And then we come here and we point the finger, and that's why these papers are in front of us. And you put these papers in front of us, and there's, I mean, it's up to one school has, almost 90, what is that, 64, $70,000 sitting in technology. I mean, that to me is unbelievable. That's one school. back to the large purchases, like you just said, the allocation I kind of understand, but at the same time, I mean, there's not gonna be a purchase of $50,000 that doesn't have to be approved by the Board of Education. I mean, they just can't. So I don't understand why.
Well, the only way a school would spend that kind of money would be if they were purchasing a laptop cart or like a major.
Or like an iPad room.
Yeah,
Like a room.
Which would
Right.
come
Computer
to the
room.
board.
I would assume it should.
Yeah, not sitting at the school.
And there was discussion this morning about, schools have leadership teams and committees. There used to be, we had a technology committee, so our levy money was spent based on our technology committee in the school. We sat down with a budget at the beginning of the year, and we were gonna buy ink for teachers, we were gonna, buy printers if they needed them, we had it budgeted. So I think, they could do that or go through their leadership team or something, I'm not sure. Every school may do that differently, but there should be some teacher say in what possibly is being spent on.
Now you see why the federal government takes back what you don't use.
Yeah.
It makes a little sense now, because there are places that need it, and if you aren't using it, looking at this, and maybe that's something we need to do. If you don't use it, we'll take it back and use it somewhere else instead of allocations.
My guess is we'll get a bunch of purchase requests tomorrow.
Well, and teachers ask, they don't always go to the administrator and ask
Yeah.
for what they need. Like, I'm
Understood.
sure if they went to Mr. Decker and said, hey, I need a set of speakers or something, but now see, I would get those requests and then I would take it to the committee next month and say, look, we've got kindergarten wanting this and we got, what do you think? And then we would make the purchase if the committee agreed on it. We did that with all of our technology money.
Yeah, I think this is a
Yeah,
very good
so,
report, Todd.
yeah.
Thank you for this.
Thank
It's
you,
very,
Todd.
it's very eye-opening too. It allows us to kind of see a little bit more in depth about what we've got going on. And it's the same thing with, Mr. Messenger said, the same thing with the athletic levy funds. I understand big purchases, and if they're going to use some of this money before they come to us and ask us to dip into a contingency fund or ask us to assist with something else, then I'm okay. But it kind of smacks in the face when they come to us and they say, hey, give us $50,000, to go and do something here on our football field, but yet you've got $200,000 sitting in your levy funds. That's just my thought.
And we could do a better job of clarifying, this is what the
Mhm.
county is paying for, this
Yeah.
is what you can use your money for. To make that, just clarify.
And the teachers need to know they need to request.
Yeah, if there's something out there that they
Yeah.
need, like, why, there's enough, I would assume that there's enough money in these levy funds at the school level to buy a 3D printer for every science classroom in Harrison County.
Right now.
There could be.
So why aren't we buying 3D printers for science classes in Harrison County? That's one of the future technologies that we need to learn. So I think that's just an example that I think we should probably consider.
We bought them for all the middle schools just a few years ago,
Mhm.
another layer, so.
Okay.
And things like laptops and large purchases like that, we will continue to.
Sure.
But these
Yeah.
small items at the school.
Well, technology can also be considered, almost combined with the science, like we got all the greenhouses, people coming in for greenhouses. Well, that's technology now. It's all computerized and, without soil, there's a lot of technology in these greenhouses that could be used for. It doesn't have to be just a computer, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Technology has a large landscape.
We're in everything.
Yeah,
We just purchased at the county level keyboards for, all the kids have one-to-one devices, so they didn't have keyboards at the elementary level. So now everyone will have keyboards. We've got testing coming up. We've discovered that we can test on iPads. So we wanted to get those keyboards in the hands of these 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders so they can get used to them before we have testing in May. So we just purchased those. I think they just came
It
in
just
today.
came in, my
There was
back
lots of-
feels it.
Yeah,
Good.
so,
and looking at this.
So those kind of
there's
items
other
we
things that
understand.
need addressed, just not the technology. First of all, this board has been extremely a huge advocate of like band and the stage. But yet almost every single school has almost $10,000 sitting in there for band and library. We're looking I mean, I understand our kids weren't in school, believe me, with teaching.
Yeah, I think the
supplies and
band
stuff.
accounts are probably larger than they normally would be.
Yeah, I would
just because
assume
we
that.
have-
Yeah,
And
but I
that
mean-
may be a good point. That may
But
be a
you're
good
right.
point for the rest of the stuff, might maybe a little bit larger this year as well,
Yeah,
because of the way we've had.
But I do think all of these need to address, and I'm gonna say this, although I hate it in certain circumstances, if it's not used, can we not take it back?
there was, years ago, we used to spend down our levy money, and then you got new levy money the next year. And you only carried it over if you were working on a larger project.
That's
So,
approved by the board.
yeah, because we were told that it could be taken. Yes.
Good report, very eye-opening, like Frank said, thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Okay. We have a facilities report from Mr. Lopez.
Yeah, I'll be brief. The Lost Creek project is going well. We looked at several items in the last couple of progress meetings, starting to get to the point where we are ordering some furniture. So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. It really is coming along well. We've taken a look at several aspects. Again, it's on target to get completed, the majority of it, new furniture. We're looking, so we have another meeting on Tuesday or Thursday. And we've had a lot of the people in this room at those meetings, so that's been good. As we move forward to the war project, we're getting ready to do the Reconstruction Meeting, where the general contractor will get an opportunity to kind of see the facility up close and start to make a plan on action and how they're going to work on it. It should happen sometime next week. We're trying to get the dates worked out. So, and in transportation, we had a pretty good first 2 days of school.
That's good. That's really good. Even with some of the floodwaters.
Oh,
We were fortunate.
Jimmy just didn't sleep the first night.
Nice, but they were good.
Yeah, we were watching them.
And it's a, I gotta give kudos to our bus drivers. Those first few days when you have a lot of, I know it's not the start of school, but it's kind of is. And the first time we've had kids, full group in a year. So they've done an excellent job.
Yeah.
Really happy with that.
If you look in your, I think in your folders, I just provided some information that was asked for. I think Mr. Hogan asked for the schools. He wanted to see it by county. And there's two different reports. The first two sheets, they're by county and their enrollment, and then how many schools they have total over at the end, because you wanted to compare it to county. And then the second group is a print off that we get from Weavis that, so it shows each county, the name of the school, and their enrollment in each of their grade levels, and then their total enrollment. So that gives you an idea statewide of, I think you were asking like how large high schools were.
Right, how many high schools, how many middle schools?
Yeah, so
How many
this,
elementary was,
this is pretty detailed, so
right.
you want time to look at all 55, but.
So Kanawha County has 76 schools.
Actually, I mean, they've got their technical centers on there, they have an alternative center, but that's
But
their
that's what
total.
those numbers means, like they have 50 elementary.
That's the total buildings that they're supporting. And if you look at this report and you wanted to look at Kanawha County, it actually names all the schools and their enrollment in each of those schools. That's why it's such small print.
Okay,
It's all 55 counties, breaks it down by school.
okay.
You can see their high schools and their numbers. So-
Right off the top, just looking at it, counties that are near our size are really kind of close in the number of schools that
They are.
they have. I mean, more so, it's closer than I ever expected it to be. I thought it was going to be, we have 28 schools and another county at our size was only going to have 12, 13, 14, and it showed that we had. But looking at this, just taking a quick glance at it, without digesting it, school numbers of schools, we're not too far, out of the loop as to what other schools our size, have enrollment wise and all.
And then the other handout I gave you, this was just for your information. I had Mr. Kirby, we were just excited to see the attendance the first day, because, you know, you're not sure, we're going back in 5 days. So he ran that for me on that first day, just so we could see it by school and the percentages of kids that attended. And then he gave me a report today of the current enrollment and then our homeschool numbers. And homeschool went down to 1017 and then it went back up to 1021. We've had a few families that's now moved back out of a private school and they've come back into the public school. So we do have some shifts going on, but it seems to, we lower one number and then it changes. But that was our current enrollment as of today in homeschool numbers, and then attached was the virtual school numbers.
Virtual school, but if things are in the normal, things are normal next year, a lot of virtual school students may be back in the.
And we have
homes.
some, we've opened that up. We do have people moving out of virtual back into 5 days, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know it was allowed.
Yeah, well, we kind of, I think the state kind of recommended if we could do that, to try to do that, to open that window a little bit, and we do have some coming in, but we also have those moving in and then some moving back to homeschool. So it's kind of just shifting. I think it's going to stay pretty stable with those numbers.
But I think a lot of the virtual school students next year will be back.
I think so. I'm
And
hoping.
then that's going to cause the enrollment to go from the 9942 probably back up over the 10,000 mark.
Right. But I was just pleased to see the attendance. I mean, the kids are going. The ones that are in person are attending. So the only other thing I wanted, did we bring that down, that multitude box of food? Yeah, just to give you an idea, this is like a show and tell. I was excited. And it shouldn't have came at lunchtime because we wanted to eat it.
I know,
Yeah, we had over 1,000 people sign up for, these are for virtual and homeschool students. And instead of our cooks making all the packets and all that for pickup, Mr. DeRico worked with this multitude company, and every week they're signing up on Friday, and then the names are going in. They have email addresses, so on Thursday they're going to get an email saying your box is coming. It's all being done by FedEx, being covered, and it is amazing. I mean, we have beefaroni, we have tuna, like cold packed tuna. There's like vegetables, all kinds of, there's 2 pepperoni rolls. It was a very nice package of things.
Yeah, it is.
And so every Friday, these will be delivered by FedEx to our virtual kids and our homeschool kids. And they're just signing up online. It seems very simple. I think Angela actually did an application today.
Yes, I did. I checked with my children's mother and said, hey, is it okay if we put the kids in this program? She said yes. So I already knew the kids' email address, with the K-12.
They will also send a box to even younger children than 5.
In the household.
If you have any children in the household up to 18,
But
they can sign
virtual
up.
kids,
That's really good.
they're at the virtual school, so they'll get that delivered to their house.
Wasn't sure about the hummus, but somebody may love hummus. And there's cheese dip and crackers. It's just really a nice assortment. And about, well, juice boxes, so 14 juice boxes. So it's multitude.
Multitude.
Uh-huh. And so, yep, it was a company that he worked with briefly. And so he contacted them and they set it up, and FedEx agreed to deliver for him, and we're doing it at a reimbursement cost. We're actually, able to do it without.
Is there any vaccines that go?
No,
Vaccines in
lots of juice boxes.
Okay.
That's very nice.
That's very nice. That's awesome.
I just wanted to share that because when we opened it today, I was really happy with what was in there. And it's taken all the burden off of our cooks.
Yes.
Our cooks have worked extremely hard to make sure that they're distributing food going in person.
Yes,
And we
ma'am.
just felt that with our kids being in 5 days, that our cooks could not sustain that. So that's taken it clear out of the kitchens,
That's
so they can concentrate on in person.
Cuts down on overtime and everything too. doesn't it?
Yes, so, anyway, so I appreciate Mr. DeRico working on that and getting that set up.
Very nice.
So, I think that's all I have for superintendent's update.
Okay, all right, so if there's no, well, we can move down to approval of consent items at this point. Is there a motion to accept the consent items as presented?
So moved.
Mr. Hoag has made the motion, Mr. Doherty has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion on consent items? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. New business. Memorandum of Understanding between Harrison County Schools and Sunbridge Salem Healthcare. Is there a motion to accept the Memorandum of Understanding?
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Messenger has made a motion to accept. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Doherty has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion?
Other than I think that this is wonderful.
Mhm.
I mean, really, really needed, and I just, just to name the other things, the aerospace, the Parkersburg Water Board, cybersecurity, and the CNA certification. This is something that is wonderful for our schools, going in there, getting them experience in the workforce, and I'm just so thrilled with these things.
One additional thing to note is we were contacted by Dominion Energy, and they're interested in setting up a shadowing program.
The internship, yes.
Yeah,
I
internship.
saw that.
Yes, internship
Yeah.
program. Good.
I want to bring up a point. We're not duplicating services against the UTC with this, is what we need to bring up.
I don't believe so. I don't believe they have an LPN program. This is different. This is a certified nursing assistant program. We're being very careful not to duplicate things with the technical center. Yeah, we're very aware of that.
Okay, want to make sure we are not,
Correct, yeah, because you don't want the students to be, you don't want a competition going on. We want to provide more services in conjunction with the technical center.
Okay, motion is on the floor. Is there any, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, new business, is the approval of Lincoln Fieldhouse bid. Is there a motion to accept the approval of the Lincoln Fieldhouse bid as presented by the superintendent in the amount of $477,798 to Veritas Contracting?
What is our share?
150,000
That's what we
is
agreed
what
on.
we agreed to. That's what we had given the other project, Bridgeport, so.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Ms. Messenger has made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second it.
Mr. Hoag has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion?
Yes. I just have to always wonder how there could be, like when you put out bids, how there could be almost $150,000 difference. I mean, I don't want to get into details about it, but I mean, that just always like kind of, like, what does one have that another doesn't?
Oh, I don't.
And I can't understand this. It says deduct alternative, deduct plumbing line, toilet fixtures, power and lighting. I just don't understand bidding sometimes, is all I'm saying, but what it really comes down to is $142,000 difference between the highest and the lowest. And I always just wonder, are we gonna get a work change order?
Well, let's ask Mr. Decker.
When we were working with our architects and our engineers, we had asked that we have some deductions available to us if necessary, because we weren't sure what the funding was going to be. It was a competitive bid. We had multiple bids that were able to come in and would meet our budget. So if we weren't going to be able to meet our budget through the deductions, then we would have had to pause the project. So we asked for those deductions to be in there, and they presented them to us and the low bid for the overall project. And
Ms. Message, if I can.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
If there is a change order, it's not on us anyway, because we're only committing a definite amount of money.
Yeah, but I'm still.
And I agree with you. I don't know where, why they fluctuate, that, labor is pretty much the same, and unless they're paying poverty wages, one of them, or, supplies are about the same. But at any rate, we're only on the hook for whatever amount, and really, it's coming through us, but I'd have preferred, I guess, since we are giving some money. I know when the turf was done in Lincoln, none of it came through us because we didn't have any money in it. But I guess since we have 150, we can approve that. But we're really just approving, what we're giving, because anything over that, that's on the school.
I guess what I'm saying is, when I see a difference of 150,000 or 142,000, I don't want you to be shortchanged. I don't want you to come in here and not have the project you wanted. I mean, we have a little more experience as a board and Jimmy and on bidding and stuff. But when I see that much of a difference, I just want to be certain that you're getting the same product from the vendor A, B, C, and D when you get a bid.
Yeah, there's
Because it's a lot
specs.
of money.
There's specs that each contractor has to use to bid on, and they add those, and they do those
Yeah.
deducts as well. So whoever's got the sharpest pencil is the one that usually gets the bid,
Yeah,
you know?
that's a
and
bit, that's a
depending-
lot is all I was saying. I didn't want you to be missing out on anything.
One, do you have the other amount that it's gonna take to complete the project?
Yes, we
We're
will.
not borrowing on the future.
We're going to use next year's levy money. So that's what we're going to include that as well. So our facilities money from the levy for next year, along with
What you already have.
Lincoln Middle is going to contribute to the project as well.
Okay.
So it's a
And
joint,
what we're giving you, when
Yes.
this job's done, it'll be paid for.
it's fully funded. Yes, sir.
Okay, I mean, just, I don't want to get caught where we're,
Yeah.
having to do,
What we'll have to do for fundraising is the furnishings inside. This will give us a building, a new roof on the entire facility. It will be plumbed. We're going to do a fundraiser within our community to raise money for the lockers, for seats for the coaches, any tables of that nature. So we'll take care of that. But everything else, it'll be ready to go.
Okay.
Good. Got a good price.
where's this coming from?
It's out of Morgantown, Veritas.
I see it around a lot. You do good work.
Okay, is there any, we've got a discussion, is there no further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Our next item is student transfer requests. Is there a motion to approve student transfer requests as presented by the superintendent?
I'll make a motion to approve the student transfer request.
Ms. Messenger has made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Hogan seconded the motion. Is there any discussion on student transfers?
The only thing is, I saw where we were getting several students from Taylor County and what have you, which is surprising, I mean, when I looked at it and I started seeing all these that was coming from Taylor County. So that just goes to show you that we have a better educational program in Harrison County than they do in Taylor County that we're going to get that county.
No comment there.
No comment, please.
Strike that for the record. We don't need to be law involved over in Taylor County. We don't want them to come back. All right. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, there is no old business. There is no policy updates. This brings us down to personnel matters. Is there a motion to accept personnel matters as presented by the superintendent?
So moved.
Mr. Hoag has made the motion to accept. Mr. Doherty, can you second the motion? Is there any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. There are no legal and disciplinary matters. This brings us down to board member comments. Mr. Doherty?
Nothing.
Ms. Messenger?
Just happy that our week has started off as well as it has, and our kids are back in school.
All right, Mr. Hammer, Mr. Hoag?
Just kudos to Todd and his group for, getting everything together, and to Dr. Haig and the school calendar committee for getting this, a calendar that looks like it's going to be a good one. And other than that, we hope Mr. Hamrick gets well fast.
Very good. Mr. Hamrick?
West Virginia up by 3 with 3 minutes, that's all I have.
There you go.
There you go.
Spread them out.
All right, if there are no further comments, I have none at this time. I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Hoag has made the motion to adjourn. Mr. Doherty has seconded the motion. Any discussion on adjournment? No. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Hoag?
Children of peace, go in peace.
Thank you, guys.